Hello Pisces, and welcome to your May 2024 forecast. I'm Nicholas Ashbaugh. It's so good to see everybody. Just a quick reminder, this reading can be used for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. It's going to give you everything you need for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Let's go ahead now and move on to the channeled messages. They come through in both dreams and meditation. For you, what I saw was a keystone, which is basically the top stone in an archway, and it absorbs some of the pressure. It basically keeps the integrity of the structure together, and just by definition, it's at the top. It's a crowning achievement, it's a pinnacle, it's an apex sort of symbol. Just like this keystone, basically your opportunity, your challenge this month is not to give in to pressure, to lead by example, to push through any sort of nonsense this month and hold your place where you've basically worked really hard to get, and just allow yourself also to drink in that moment of success, because many of you are on the basically on the heels of success or the precipice of success. So this is your moment to shine. Just like the Ten of Pentacles here, this is also a nexus, and you'll notice right there in the Ten of Pentacles is the archway that we're talking about, and there's a question from the universe here, which is what's next? Sometimes we don't think about that. We're so focused on the finish line, the accomplishment of something, that we don't kind of think, what am I going to do with that moment? What comes after that? And how does this all fit in to the sort of bigger, larger vision of your life, your path? And so please take some time today, this week, this month, and kind of like focus on how it all comes together. And I think it's really good to forecast out beyond this month, even though I'm helping you with the next 6 to 8 weeks. I think it's good to go out 3 years, 5 years, or further, just so that you're really being as aware and as impactful as you can be in your sort of manifestation, okay? Because the Ten of Pentacles, which is connected to that archway energy, represents contracts. Many of you have a chance of signing on the dotted line. There may be new money, resources, or opportunities that are coming forth. When we're looking at relationships, this can be marriage or this can be commitment, and all of that would constitute a keystone moment. So Pisces, even if you're not normally kind of putting yourself in that energy of achieving or accomplishing things, this is a month where you can actually get a lot done. It can be very productive, even if that's not your main focus. If it is your main focus, things are shaping up to look really, really good here in the month of May. Let's go ahead now and look at the next dream message that came through for you. I was also shown the image of your third eye basically lighting up and connecting to the sun, or almost becoming the sun. And this profound sort of symbol here reminds you that you are connected to Source. And it really is encouraging you to trust your intuition, to also remember what I titled this slide here, which is thoughts are power. They're powerful, but they are power in and of themselves, and they manifest. So with that in mind, you want to really be careful in how you craft your thoughts, because if you start to put a lot of fear-based thoughts or anger-based thoughts out there, it starts to reinforce that, and then it starts to show up again in your life. If you are affirmative, if you are focusing on, higher energy, then you can start to call in partnerships and opportunities and kind of be like the sun here. So the sun is the glue in our solar system, kind of like the keystone, right? And the high priestess reminds you that when you connect to that source energy of power and sort of being the glue and being the attractive force, the sky is the limit here. This is a chance also for you to recharge and refocus your intention beyond the here and the now. Like I said, a month, a year, a decade. Really look into the long-term sort of goals, and then create some follow through. Make sure that there are some plans, there are some things that you're going to do next, okay? So that is everything for channeled messages. Now let's shuffle the cards and see what else Spirit has to say. All right, everybody, close your eyes and focus on whatever it is you're trying to receive this month in the form of guidance. And I'm going to shuffle the cards here and see what Spirit wants to convey beyond the channeled messages. Again, good to see everybody. Already have a synchronicity here with the deep past. We have the Ten of Pentacles, which is great. There we go. Let's go ahead and begin with your catalyst energy today. We have the Heart Guardian coming through in this message. Simply put, this is a time to really focus on healing. It says, love and let yourself be loved. That often is the hardest thing, unconditional love, right? We're not always taught that or shown that. Sometimes it's something we have to develop and nurture and discover in our adult sort of years. The heart, of course, can also show that for some of you, beyond just love, there may be forgiveness. There could also just be, for some of you, a focus on better health and loving yourself in that form. We'll look at that more when we go into the health component later. But in relationships, this should also be interesting. We're going to look for unconditional love and try to release any sort of codependencies or old habits. But when all things begin here with you, this is kind of like the source message that I was talking about in the first of the 2 channel messages. I always look for an Ace of Cups in a relationship read and it needs to be in the upright position because it shows overflowing love and the capacity for you to both give and receive because you're not looking to fill up your cup. So this month, that's also what is coming through Pisces is do whatever you need to feel like your own cup is overflowing. And this is basically you having your own back, taking care of yourself, being your own best advocate, speaking up when you need to. All of those things that sometimes we wish others would do for us, you are capable of doing that. And when you start to do it, other people see that you mean business, that you have boundaries, that you kind of have this gravitas and energy when you enter the room, and they start to respect you and you start to pull in higher partnerships. So that's the first profound message actually that came through here in the catalyst. Let's just take one moment and look at all the cards and see what the overarching theme is. Like I said, there was a synchronicity here in the deep past, so we can see that, like I said, you're either on the precipice or the heels of the success moment, so yay for that. We can also see some partnership coming in, and I said there could be next level energy with partnerships. And then the only challenging card you really got here was this 5 of Swords, and it's in the environment. I'd rather see something tricky like that around you because it means you probably can see it, coming and deal with it rather than having to deal with that as an aspect of your personality. I'll get into all of this in just a second, but I like this trend. We see second chances. We see, this beautiful development for some of you of a new cycle, and we see, love and relationships. So let's talk about all the other stuff around it, starting with your centermost card, the Hierophant. This represents spiritual growth, getting organized. It's boss energy, so you have all of that at your disposal this month if you need it. You may also be coming face to face with sort of like this leadership and mentorship or boss energy in your life. And maybe for some of you, you're ready to move beyond that because we have a graduation card here in the deep past and we have a teaching sort of energy here. You can see that the Hierophant is used to getting her way. We have 2 disciples here. Normally it would be a Pope card. I love that this is reimagined. But anyway, we have a leader here and she has disciples and she likes to be the boss. There comes a point in your life, particularly when we're looking at school or any sort of activity where there's that leader where there's a change of guard or you've learned everything and you're ready to get your diploma and move on. So for some of you, especially the students that watch, this could just be graduation. For the rest of you, you're doing like a karmic graduation and you're ready to sort of hold your own. That's what we talked about in the Keystone, right? This card also encourages you to create some structure in your life, whether it's building something fresh from scratch, something out of the box, or adhering to something that has been tried and true and worked before. So, depending on where you're at in your life, it could also be that. We also see 2 keys at the foot of the Hierophant. This represents that there's more than one way to do this. So like I said, there may be someone that's very rigid, an old kind of fashioned gatekeeper here. And meanwhile, you're like, I think I want to try that. There's nothing here that says like one of you is more right than the other. Follow the path that feels most exciting and most intuitively aligned for you, okay? But ultimately, wisdom, intuition, power, and structure. We can look at all of those as basically not milestones so much as tenets of what you can offer this month, attributes, in other words, that you have to offer. Crossing this card, we have the King of Cups. So there could be new love coming in. Or like I said, an existing relationship could be deepening, could be growing, could be going to the next level. This is also one of the best cards for intuition, sensitivity, empathy, and probably one of my favorite leadership cards. I like this as a leader because it is both powerful and sensitive when we're looking at a court card. And you have that in you. And this is you, of course. Look at the little Pisces in the background. One of the two. I'm sure the other one's on the other side. So anyway, you've got this potential right now to make a splash, to be seen, to be loved, to show that you mean business. And if someone else is strong, you're sitting here and saying, yes, me too. And I have like a different way or a different idea. So I definitely see you coming into your own and maybe even surprising a teacher, a parent, a mentor, someone that you respect. And this is why I really want you to follow your path. In love, this is an interesting match because we have sensitivity and we have like this strong and silent type. If this is you, which it probably is, you may have to be doing a little bit of intuiting and tuning in to try to figure out what that other person wants because they're not as communicative maybe as you'd like them to be. We'll talk more when we go into love, but that's just some highlights of what I'm picking up. So those are your two center cards, power and sensitivity at the end of the day. I love that we had this synchronistic card here, the 10 of Pentacles, which of course nicely aligns with all of the messages we talked about here, rising to the top, shining, having a breakthrough, possibly even a contract. This is also one of the cards of change and growth, and it's aligned very closely to the Death card. In the Death card, we see a king, we see a child, we see a mother, we see a papal figure or a sort of like religious figure, and then this agent of change. On the 10 of Pentacles, we have an older figure, we have a family, we have a child, we have all of these different steps of life coming through. This is that's why I said this is it can be a milestone as much as it can be a keystone. So one thing is checked off your list, but the list is still there. There are more things. So this is just the beginning. That's what this card is also reminding you of. And you're never too old and you're never too young. This is a different energy of change. It's not like there's no finality to it that you would see sort of with the Death card. It's just saying you can continue on where you're at or you can go to something new. Very positive, very affirmative. And like I said, when it comes to relationships, next level if you want them to go next level, or partnerships for those of you in business, especially with this, because this is a card of, signing a contract and having like a coworker or a partner, etc. Very good stuff. We see just a general focus on resources and money this month. 10 of Pentacles, then a newfound balance, some choices here, 6 of Pentacles, and then we see another power card here with the Queen of Pentacles. Let's begin with the 6 of Pentacles. This represents, of course, balance. Typically, there's actually scales in this card, but you can see her doing that with her hands, figuring that out. This is a discernment card, being picky and thinking, in this case, she has these two gifts, and she's thinking, who will be more appreciative or will make the most out of this gift of time, energy, love, etc. So it can be that kind of discernment. It can also be a decision for you to move your resources around. Maybe you've saved up for something, for college, for instance, or to buy a house, or to buy a gift. Whatever it is, there were choices, there were trade-offs, and now you're deciding, is this the time? Is this the way? This card means that you can accomplish your goals, but there are 3 things that have to be considered. These basically include time, scope, and budget. And oftentimes you have to pull at one or subtract from another. And the challenge this month, as with most leadership opportunities or just as you're getting older, is to make those choices. Nobody can make that choice except for you, and you have to weigh how it affects you and how it affects others. You can't make everybody happy, but you can make a really big impact this month. And at the end of the day, the last thing that I want to say with the 6 of Pentacles is to save a little bit extra for you, a little extra time, a little extra resources. Make sure that you've covered yourself so that you have some contingency for a rainy day or for something really cool on the horizon where you're like, oh, if I'd only saved up, I could, engage with this. So definitely look at your savings account and your spending habits and see if there's any places where you could be a little bit more frugal or thrifty, because it feels like there's this big personal development opportunity on the horizon. And that's what this card usually means in reverse. It's like, I want to take care of myself. So the planning begins now. The execution may happen in a couple of months or a couple of years, but we see you laying the groundwork right now. Okay, crowning card, Ace of Swords in reverse. This is brevity, this is clarity, this is action, and the timing is now. Ace of Swords in reverse is saying it's overdue, speaking up or taking action upon something. It's also a card that represents editing or revisions. So if there is a contract, which we saw here, and you want to make a change to it, this is the time to do it. If there's something that you need more information on or you don't understand, this card is inviting you to use your voice, speak up, and say, I need some information. I'd like some clarity on that. And also, this is just a great card for recording whatever it is that's coming through. I talked about your intuition lighting up. I saw the third eye in dreams and meditation. So really focus on capturing those epiphanies, those moments of clarity. And just like justice reverse would mean no, this can mean speaking up and saying no, having really important boundaries between you and others. I like to look at that almost like a pen, like a red pen. So if there's a contract or something that you don't like something, you circle that and say no. And it's okay to do that, even though it's not necessarily the most popular. We have to sometimes put down our foot and create those boundaries. As we look at the near future here, we have the Eight of Cups coming through. The first message that I see when I look at this is that some of you are overdue for a break or a holiday or a reprieve. And we definitely get that sort of energy of stepping back. One of the things that this also reminds you of is the importance, especially when you're weighing out a decision, of getting some clarity by getting some distance. And so rather than making a decision in the throes of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And kind of being all stressed out and everything, take a deep breath. Say, can I have a day? Can I think about this? Important decisions, you can sometimes even buy more time on it, maybe a few days or a weekend or something like that. Make sure that you've given it ample thought before committing to it. And then come back with information, with clarity, with questions. So you step away, you get perspective, you come back, and you either have your decision or you have follow-ups. And that's the first thing that I see with the Eight of Cups. It's also a card that allows you to make or break a cycle. And for many of you, there may be something that, you've just kind of had enough of. It's been off and on. This can be like a hot and cold card too. So in a relationship, it's someone who, can't get enough of you and then they ghost you for 2 weeks or something. Or it's a job where maybe you're like a freelancer and you work really, really hard for 2 or 3 months and then it's crickets and then they want you again. So it looks like some of you might be looking for a little bit more commitment. And you could communicate that this month because, again, if we look at how this is, we can see that you add value, but you constantly feel like you're lacking the balance or the commitment that you need. So you're speaking up, you're speaking with compassion, and you're going to circle that contract or write in something new and say, can I count on you? And we actually have good cards for that sort of a conversation, and we'll go into that more later when we're looking at work, but I can kind of see that already here, so I want to say it in the moment. If you didn't do something and you want to do it now, the Eight of Cups is saying, yes, please. This is a time to return to something, a return to form, especially for some of you, if you studied something but never got a chance to kind of like do it. For me, like my original degree was journalism. So as I start to do more podcasts, it's very fun for me. I'm like, yeah, this is what I went to school for. So some of you may be experiencing a renaissance like that, where it's sort of going back to your original roots or something that you were always passionate about. This can also represent a second chance at something that you didn't succeed at the first time, or where the timings were off between you and someone else. So maybe you were interested in someone and they weren't available and now you're both single. This is a chance to, give it a shot. There may also be a job that you applied to and, by the time you did that, it was closed, the position was closed, or they didn't think you had enough experience. You're showing up as having a lot more experience this time. So whatever it is, give it a second shot this time. And then once you do that, whether you get it or not, you'll know I tried it and now I know where I stand. Okay? And if you start something new, the Eight of Cups is cyclical and it represents that it will stick. It may take a little bit of time. It may be intermittent, hot and cold a little bit, but it'll eventually stick. So this is a good energy under which you can start a new goal, a new sort of project or plan as well. Okay? Let's look at you, and I didn't even see that. That's very exciting here. Another synchronicity here with the High Priestess energy. I mentioned the Sun earlier, but we'll pull this card up. What I was saying with this was that you were basically the source. You have the ability to pull things in, and we want you to focus on understanding the power of thoughts manifesting. And thoughts are power, and that's the main thing with this. And this High Priestess is in the reverse state, and that represents for some of you not trusting your intuition or second guessing what is obvious to your heart and to your head. So tune in. I love that she's sitting at her laptop, a very modern version of the High Priestess. When you think it, when you write it, when you speak it, you're bringing it closer to reality. So as you say things about yourself or others, make sure that they are connected to and true to the script that you want to live. You're the writer, you're the director in your own life. So make sure that you like it. And if you don't, flip the script. That's also what this is about. And if anybody is trying to come through and try to fool you or, somehow get their way without you seeing it, this card is saying, you're nobody's fool. You're going to see through those sorts of things. And I love that it's connected to this card, Five of Swords. So this is you. This is basically saying you can't outfox the fox. You're the fox. Someone is in the periphery and they're try though they may, to kind of like get under your skin. Usually with the Five of Swords, it's in the form of like a backhanded compliment. And it can be someone saying, oh, not bad for blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, you're like, well, that just means that that's not good. Like you're putting sort of like salt on the compliment and it doesn't make it a compliment. So there could be that. There could be a backhanded compliment where someone is really still kind of reading you and calling you out on something without just celebrating your success. This card can also represent a teacher, authority figure, a boss, someone in your life, even a parent sometimes, that just is never satisfied. And the same sort of thing where they might be comparing you to someone else, something in the way that they're communicating leaves a barb or like kind of like gets stuck in your head. So you're going to focus on releasing that and see through the illusion and see through the sort of like technique that they're using and just think, I'm going to take that with a bag of salt. I'm not going to let this bother me, and I'm going to move on. Don't waste your time and energy trying to argue with someone who won't listen, won't take accountability, and just kind of is contrary. It's like they have a rain cloud above their head constantly, and they're trying to throw those bolts of lightning your way. You're just not going to give it any mind or pay it any mind. Finally, it can be your own sort of voice, an inner saboteur coming through, and basically saying you're not good enough, you can't do this. And we want to realize usually that is an external voice that has found its way in, something from childhood, like a teacher or a parent or a peer in the, at school that just was jealous or something. And usually it does come from jealousy or trickery. The Five of Swords, the Seven of Swords, and the Devil, they all hang out together. So when I see one, I know the other ones are out there somewhere. So just avoid that because you don't want to meet with that grouping. Okay? That's that. One last thing here. If you are in a sort of, let's say it's a company sort of thing, you're like working and someone is going contrary to the contract, you're going to redline it and say you agreed to do this and basically just clamp down that conversation using facts and figures. All right, here's what's coming through in the possibility space, and it's pretty good. I love Queen of Pentacles energy. Why? She has like this magical touch. Anything she puts her energy behind, we see growth and abundance. This is always one of the luscious, greenest cards that you can find. We have a little tiny rabbit, which represents fertility, the speed with which things can grow as well. So if you're trying to make something happen bigger, quicker, and grander than people expected, she's the kind of energy that you want to see. So anything that you really want to put growth energy behind, you can do this month. The first thing that really wants to sort of come through with this, though, is you have to make sure that you are supported. She's typically second only to the Empress card in the realm of nurturing. In fact, this can represent a baby or birthing or delivering something. So as I drop the card, some of you have been holding on to something too long and the universe is like, let it go. I'm going to even make it fall from Nicholas's hand. So it's time to release something. And it's okay also for those of you that have a hard time asking for help or saying, I need a little bit more here, or I can't do any more here. Those limits, those boundaries, and the expression of your needs all of those things are okay. All right. So a great month to release, birth, create, launch, etc. Something big. Now let's take a look at the outcome, and we have the Four of Wands. It's reversed, but it's one of those cards that it really doesn't matter if it's upright or reversed. All that happens with the reversal is timeline usually. So for some of you, you may want to see something happen faster, but the universe, this is particularly with a relationship or a partnership, the universe is saying it's worth the wait. Don't rush. A lot of times you have to set the stage. Put those four wands up and wait for the perfect connection. And I like to use that example from Field of Dreams. They had to build that space before all of those spirits came through there. So for you, here's a great example. If you have a business, you have to oftentimes get the company name, register that, pay for your LLC license, go ahead and create a website, hook it up to a commerce engine. You create all of the sort of, the foundation. You create the foundation, you set the stage, then you put the open sign up, and then people come in. So this is the month for some of you that you're setting the foundation. Some of you may also not recognize it or believe it when the partnership happens because you've been calling it in. We see it happening here, maybe not immediately and maybe not in the direction or the timing that you expected. But when it comes, know that you've put the work in. You are set up for success, for expansion. So keep an open heart, an open mind, and an open eye to like what's going on the horizon. And you just may be surprised at that you're actually accomplishing all of your goals. It's just not exactly at the timeline or in the way, shape, or form that you originally thought. So stay open. Let's go ahead and expand this further to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. We're going to start off with health, which is your mind, body, and spirit. In health, we have sacred plan, and this is so nicely connected to what we were talking about earlier when it came to having like a plan beyond the next month, looking at a couple of months, a couple of years, maybe even a full decade. Why is this so important, you ask? Well, when you are very, very clear on what it is you're trying to manifest, the universe can show you this winding path and help you see maybe how to get a shortcut, how to get there a little faster. Because when you're less focused, when you're leaving it up to chance, it's kind of like the old game of pinball where you just bounce around and maybe land where you need to, versus having a GPS, looking at, the road less traveled or the path of least resistance and making a choice. Do I really want to go the winding path, or can I just get there and do it now and, basically accomplish goals and dreams a little faster? Why is this coming through in health? Well, for some of you, this can also be a plan for wellness. Some of you may have not really focused so much on, the future, but there could have been a wake-up call for some of you, a parent or a loved one that has had some challenges. And when this card is coming through, it's saying, you know what, I'm gonna focus now on creating a clearer path to health and wellness for myself. So it can just be about reducing your stress when it comes to budget or business or your own goals, or it can be much more focused on the physical piece because we're looking at health and you're saying, I'm going to make this a priority and I'm going to look for ways to be clearer in my sort of time and energy commitments. And I really think that that's what this Six of Pentacles is about. Is it worth it? Is it worth stressing out? Is it worth working so much? Is there something else that I'd rather put my time and energy behind? All right, turning our attention to the cards here, what I really see is an encouragement from the universe to get some distance and perspective. For some of you, there's been maybe too much energy put behind work, and the emotional side is coming out and saying, I need a break. It could be the pressure, the stress to try to meet up to these expectations, etc. And what you need is just a little clarity. We can't always just take a vacation. I know some of you like me that have your own sort of business, you have to pick and choose. And even if that means certain days or certain times of the week, you're saying, this is my planning time, this is my time for exercise or for hiking or for meditation. It's about fitting it into a busy schedule. Speaking from experience, I have to do it. There are certain days that I just pull back and I'm like, I'm not going to produce much content today because my brain needs a break. My body needs a break. So we all need that. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned to a Saturday or Sunday. It can also be as small as 10 or 20 minutes in a given day. anything that you choose to do to create the distance from the stress, that's where it kind of becomes magical, because a trip in and of itself can kind of be its own stress. So just taking a break, meditating, reading, listening to something, getting away from it, that's where the magic is. It does not require travel, although that is one way that you can do it. Okay? So that's message number one, is creating distance from the structure, from the emotions, from the stress. This is about choices. You can't do it all at once. You have to sort of pick and choose and put it on a calendar and speak up, have those boundaries, have those limits. Also, super important to get away from this energy here. Whoever or whatever is creating Five of Swords in your life, again, someone getting under your skin, or someone that can't give a compliment or isn't true to their word, all of this stuff that needs to kind of go. Most importantly, this month, you're just being called to take care of yourself. Like I said, a universal mother figure here saying, you've done this for everybody else in your life. It's your turn now. Also, confirmation that some of you may be doing something like IVF or trying to get pregnant. I have to say, your destiny card is pretty good. So the rabbit is fertility, and we got the rabbit in the outcome. So feeling pretty good. It just may take a little bit of time. 4 weeks, 4 months, not forever though. Within the next quarter of the year, we see that happening for you. Okay, so that's pretty auspicious. Let's see if there's anything else. I think I hit on most of the highlights here. By and large, it's a pretty good month for you. The main thing here that I would also say for some of you is to focus on finding and using your voice, throat chakra activation. But other than that, it looks like you're very much in a good, energetic vibe this month, especially since you came through as yourself here with the King of Cups. The only challenge here, and we'll look at it more as we get into relationships in a few moments, is how to sort of deal with structures or a lot of opinions in your direction. Let's go ahead now and move on to wealth. We have a really lucky symbol coming through here. We have the white buffalo, and this is about restoring harmony. And it's also about balance, and it's auspicious. So for many of you, you're kind of moving into that path of recreating or reconnecting with what it is that grounds you, because we can see here a call to action. Find your grounding. We can see you returning to something that you may have thought you lost, but you really didn't. We can see something auspicious or positive coming in on the horizon, and that could be what this symbolizes for you. Some good news on the horizon. Let's go ahead and break this down into 3 categories. We're going to be looking at those working, those that are seeking employment, and then I'll kind of group together students and retirees towards the end. We'll start off first for those who are currently employed. And if you're working right now, these are some power cards here. I like what I see. So the best of them right now is the Hierophant, which is boss power, boss energy, and you're emanating it as much as perhaps the person that you're working with or the person you're working for. And that is where the rub is for some of you. These are 2 strong people with very different leadership and communication styles. Like I said, one person may be more sensitive, one may be a little bit more bossy and outspoken, or someone expects you to read their mind and gets upset when you don't. Something going on with the communication and leadership. So the way that you can kind of get through this is to break the ice and break the silence or ask a question. I think the best thing in general is, before jumping to any sort of conclusion and then reacting, you could just say, I wasn't clear on this, or help me understand what you meant by that. Particularly if they said something that might have come across as this. I've said that before when this card appears. You can just call people and make them repeat it, make them hear it, and don't react until you get the clarification. When you said this, what did you mean? And when they clarify it, say, okay, I'm so glad I asked because I heard it completely different. It had this effect on me. So if you want to communicate this to me, that's not the way. That's a way to have that conversation, and also put a line in the sand. That, there's a way that you can do it without getting argumentative, and kind of putting the mirror back to them saying, I see what you're doing, don't do that. Okay, so that's a gentle way to work that through in a sort of professional manner if you want to. I think the main thing for many of you right now is getting real and realistic with having too many things on your plate, and making that, but helping that person see that there might be a need for additional help here. So you can only do what you can do, and then you can always talk to them and say, hey, I noticed that all of these things are due at the same time. This seems like the highest priority. What would you like me to do with these? Can I have this person help? You can always kind of throw out ideas. In that mix, you're saying, I'm not going to do it all, but you can fix it with them and help them, basically even let them be the boss or the manager that they are and sort it out. All right, so that's another thing that I'm picking up on for those that are employed. Managing resources, not giving into someone trying to push your buttons, using that echo technique to help them hear and correct how they're acting, and that's breaking a cycle. Some of you may need to do some traveling. It doesn't look like it's, going to be forever, but it may be over the course of a month or two, you're going to have more intensity. This is like hot and cold. So like I said, there may be a lot of travel, then none, then a little bit more. So figure out for you maybe like how you can manage this. And if you want to do it, and if you don't, speak up. You can say no. That's what this reminds you throughout this entire reading. Whatever you like or don't like, you have a say in this, okay? I think it's really important to talk to higher ups right now about the long-term pattern and goal here, the sacred plan. So you can even say, what's your goal for me? What do you see me doing in 3 to 5 years? And then if you don't like what they're saying, or you could say, here's what I see. How can we bring this closer together? So there you go. This is a good time to goal set, basically. I see a good outcome here. If you use sensitivity, if you are consistent and you consistently remind them of what has been said, you're going to be good. You can't just have a handshake. You just can't have a verbal conversation and think that's enough. Follow up with an email, get something in writing, get something in for those of you that are working in like the review, quarterly, annual, etc., to make sure that you're set up for success. It's a pretty good month though. I have to say these 3 cards, deep, past, near future, and outcome, they're all great. You've done the work. It's your turn. And I think we're getting there, but you have to reach out, you have to speak up, and you have to call out people that aren't kind of coming through and being true to their word. But it also feels like you have support. This represents like others that notice you. And you may have an ally in the form of another leader, in which case definitely connect with them. I like what I see here across the board, okay? For those that are job seeking, I'm really drawn to the 8 of Cups here because this could represent, like I said, something that the timing was off before. So let's say you applied to something but were rejected, but you had a good vibe with the recruiter. This is the time to circle back if a new opening has appeared, or if it's been a minute since you've checked in and say, hey, we were going to, you said I should reach out in 3 months or 6 months or a year. I'd like to do that. Let's see what's going on. This is also saying go back to the old network that you might have made when you were a student. So this can be like alumni, old coworkers, old friends. It's from the past. It's not necessarily you having to find somebody new. So I feel like one of your current leads is a past connection that you're reconnecting with. That's a really clear symbol and a good starting place for some of you. This can be one follow-up. This is also keeping it really brief. And just saying, keeping the emotions out, just following up and saying, hey, thank you so much. Just curious if you've made a decision. That's it. In and out of sort of like a follow-up letter. I'd like to highlight this for job seekers. The 5 of Swords can represent one person in an interview panel, possibly even an HR contact or a recruiter with whom you just don't gel. Maybe you got along with everyone else. Don't let this one person get in the way of you getting that job if it's what you truly want. Sometimes there are people that fill in, like a boss is out or someone that's supposed to do the interview is out, and HR will just randomly grab someone else in the team. I saw this at places that I worked and say, hey, can you just sit on this panel and interview? It may be a disgruntled person that's missing a meeting and knowing that they're going to have to work late. So don't let this throw you off your game. You have what it takes. You made it to this interview for a reason. Stay cool, stay calm, stay collected, and even check in with them. Say, how are you doing? How's your day been? Walk me through. You can just use it as a form of ice breaking and empathy. Looks like you're really busy. Tell me, like, what is your job like? because that's actually valid. If you're talking to someone who might be in the same sort of field or title as you can get some insight that way. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise, and you can see if there's some hidden issues or dysfunction there, or you might just learn that they had a stressful day and it had nothing to do with the job. So check assumptions. Don't let that get in the way. As we look at this card, the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, she's saying, be prepared to answer the question that nobody likes to be asked, which is, what do you want to make? What are your salary expectations? There are certain cities, states, countries, and provinces where you may not have to answer that. So the first step will be do your homework and know if they have the right to get that history. Secondly, do the research and see what an average person in this job makes. Look at what you made and figure out what's realistic. And then be prepared to answer any questions about the difference between your expectation and theirs. You have to do the homework. The best thing that you can do is talk to other people in the industry, especially peers or people that used to work at the company, and just see what it's like there. Speaking of peers, work the network here. This is friends that you know, coworkers. This is a great way to get an in a company as well. Maybe even be able to get that directly to HR and not have to go through all of the digital sort of submission process. Overall, I like what I see. I think you have a good chance of having a conversation, maybe getting to the point where there's an interview or a contract. I'm not seeing a lot more than one, but I'll take that one for job seekers. There is a distance component to it, so you may have to get on a plane, or you may have to hop on a meeting with someone from a different city, state, country, or province, different time zone. Coordinate it. The job may be in your city, but there's some distance piece to it. Someone might be on vacation, and that could also be what's delaying it up to 3 or 4 weeks. Ultimately, I like what I see here. It looks like within a month, something positive, some sort of a contract. So use the other pieces of advice that we talked about today to not get in your headspace with like one poor interaction, to be ready to talk money, and to work your schedule around that interesting time zone challenge. Those are the very specific things that I'm picking up on here. Okay. All right. And then again, alumni networks will be very good, because this can be people that you went to school with. This can be former coworkers. Lean on those for the leads. Now looking at those who are students, and then we'll go to retirees. If you're students, here's what I see. You're on a path to success. I like this. This is the diploma, the graduation. This is listening to what, your dean, your teacher, your advisor wants. You are seeming to please them. The main thing here is making sure that you're getting what you need out of the experience. This is a very specific piece of advice for students. Is it what you want? Do you need a little more support, or do you want to take a little bit more in this elective or this area or whatever? It's your chance to sort of pull and ask and try to make that happen. Okay? I think that ultimately, though, I like your overall trajectory. Don't get caught up in what someone else says or thinks about what you're doing. It's not worth the time and energy right now. If you feel like you should ask or talk to someone about something, follow through on that. It's a good thing. When we're looking at your postgraduate, we're getting back to this, like not just like postgraduate degree, but after graduation for anything. It feels like I really think now is the time to put out job applications and internships way before you graduate, and to plan it out like a couple of semesters ahead. Really put your feelers out there so that you're not trying to play catch up. For retirees, I see you splitting time. Here's you traveling between and betwixt friends and family. I think some of you are so used to the old days where you had to fill up your time that you might be overcommitted, and the Six of Pentacles is basically coming in to remind you, you don't have to do as much, nor should you have to do as much. And so you don't have to fill up every minute with an extracurricular. You don't have to go to every family function. You don't have to host everything. You don't have to babysit all the time. You get to pick and choose more than you may give yourself credit for. And remember this, love and let yourself be loved. Part of this is saying, I need some time. I need some support. I'm going to do this for myself. Maybe you want to go take a yoga class or a painting class, because we have artistic cards here. Maybe you want to go take a hiking or yoga retreat with your friends. Whatever you want to do, I feel like you're pulled in too many directions. And that's the main thing that I'm getting here. And you may not always think that that would happen with retirees, but absolutely, because there's a lot of retirees that are young and vibrant and thinking like, I don't want to just sit here, so don't overcommit. For those that are looking to relax, this card came through saying, absolutely, take that trip if you want to. Okay, let's move on to love. As we take a look at love, we had two cards that came through. We have wisdom and disruption. So let's talk about these two. So the wisdom card in reverse. It's about going basically contrary to or against what is expected. So we basically have the Hierophant at the center, same number, number 5. And it's saying your wisdom, your conventional wisdom, or your desire to do something might be opposite of someone else. And that's okay. We don't have to, sometimes it's not about who's right and wrong. It's just about change and new ideas. And I mentioned that earlier. And we have we have a stubborn and a sensitive person here. You may be the sensitive person that just doesn't feel like doing the old way of doing things. So that's okay. So I'm just giving you the gold star when it's about basically your chance to try something new. And that's this card. It's disruption. And it isn't necessarily a good or bad thing. We actually see this as a chance to unshackle yourself, to free yourself from having to do it just because someone said so. Do it because you want to. Disruption also can be very positive. When we look at like Death or the Tower, sometimes when you connect that with a structural card, it's about rebuilding or reinterpreting or reimagining. And I feel like that's what it's all about. So when we're looking at relationships, it's reimagining what works for you. For some of you, maybe you don't want to get married. For some of you, maybe you want to have children later or have children on your own or not have children, whatever. Like it's just saying you get to make up the rules. I said earlier, you're the writer, you're the director, you're the editor, you're also the star, the main character. So you get a chance here to decide what works for you. All right, let's take a look now at the cards and break it into 3 major categories. Those that are in a relationship, those that are seeking one, and those that are happily single. If you're in a relationship, we talked about this, it's pretty evenly matched, King of Cups and Hierophant. Traditional, not so traditional. Very sort of stoic and by the books, follows their heart. Maybe barks out an order or an expectation, waits to hear what the other person is saying, but isn't afraid to also get in an argument if they need to. So there's a little clash sometimes. And different styles of conversation, communication. It's about meeting in the middle, taking a break and getting some clarity, asking again, I think the most important thing, I'm glad we have swords somewhere in the spread besides that. The two of you just have to be more direct and more clear. As we discussed earlier, just say, what did you mean by that? Or can you repeat that? Or I have this on my books, is this correct? Are we still on? Confirming, echoing, clarifying in a non-judgmental, non-accusatory way. And if your partner gets upset, just say, I would only ask if I cared. So I care enough to make sure that I understood you. That'll shut it down. Say it with kindness, be direct, don't take any garbage from them, and don't give off too much sass. I think from both sides, that's important. And sometimes what happens, it's the same thing for recruitment. Your partner may be having a bad day. And instead of dealing, because it's in the environment, this card. So instead of dealing with the source, sometimes it comes out on you. So you could just say, when that happens, take a deep breath. Like, where did that come from? You can just say, I know you're not angry at me. What's going on? How was your day? What's going on with work? How can I help you? Like, we can talk about this later. I need to know what's vexing you right now. That's a great way to put it back into their court, because you're not the trash collector. You do not have to empty all of that out and deal with it, okay? So that's one thing that I'm seeing in a healthy relationship is just boundaries and getting to the source of whatever this is, because it isn't this, it's in the environment. It's important to speak up. If you think your partner knows something, or if they think you know, just talk about the elephant in the room. This is something that has been maybe under both of your skins for a while, and it's like, okay, we just need to get this out. Let's air any grievances or talk about this. Or you may you may get the feeling that there's something going on that's upsetting them, and just say, hey, I can kind of tell that you're annoyed with this. What can I do? This wasn't the intention. My intention is to try to smooth this over. I want, you're my best friend. Let's figure this out. Try to use those tools to overcome any potential miscommunication. All right. For those of you that are doing well, again, this can just be an outsider, much like the Three of Cups or the Moon card. When it's in the environment, it can be a troublemaker. So the two of you need to have each other's backs here, and just basically tell this person to mind their business. I see expansion of family for some of you. It can be in the form of a pet. It can be a child. It can also be some of you deciding to renovate or improve the house, because this is the house as much as it is a person, and investing in the house. Some of you are also deciding to take it to the next level, your relationship. So this can be a proposal. This is you considering it and possibly accepting. But only say yes if you want to say yes. This is a month where your voice really matters and your opinion matters. And that is all I have to say. It's pretty good across the board. I just see some communication hiccups and some environmental stresses. That's the main thing. But with King of Cups energy here and 10 of Pentacles and 4 of Wands, this is like best friend energy. And if you can get that with the person that you love the most, you're golden. And it's about getting back to that, because that is the outcome card. All right. If you're seeking love this month, again, I'm reminded everybody that it has to start with you. This is your Ace of Cups. This is healing the past. This is you doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. So that's message number 1. Someone might be coming back from the past. As I said earlier, sometimes the timing is just off when you like someone, and this could actually be auspicious. This month, things turn around, and suddenly maybe you're both available, you're both single, and it's just a chance to reconnect. This can also be, if we take it out of the romantic realm for a moment, reconnecting with friends, with family, with maybe those that you graduated with. It's kind of like the extended family that's coming in here, and you're again between those, just like I saw with those that are retired. So you might also be trying to blend your social network a bit. Guess what? That's also where you might meet someone. The person that's coming through could either be very similar to you, another water sign, or they just have this very traditional, very structured kind of background. And I do think that there's some complementary energy there. I also think that there could be some challenges. The other person that's coming in is an earth sign. This earth sign is ready, like very ready to commit. I'm very ready to start a family, because we have the bunny rabbits everywhere. This is a symbol of birthing. This is getting married. This is marriage. So it feels like someone is ready, or they could come with a ready-made family. They may already have a child from a previous marriage, or they're already going through the process of adoption, even if they're single, because like I said, this is an unconventional month where people are doing it their own way. So if you're open to someone that's at a different stage than you thought they would be, but the chemistry is there, that's another way that you could meet someone, okay? An existing mother or father figure is what I see here. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it for those that are seeking love. Don't be afraid to start the conversation. The Ace of Swords speaks first and speaks up and speaks directly. Okay. Now moving on to those that are happily single. First of all, good for you. Secondly, I just see the expansion of your network. Even if you're not looking for people, there's so many cards of people this month that I feel like when it comes to personal, professional, and even if you're not looking for love, there might be someone that's interested in you. All of that's coming forth. In addition to that, the area where you could be focusing is on personal healing and financial and personal growth, for sure. And you can make a lot of progress there, okay? Let's shift to the Destiny card. We have the rabbit coming through here. Things will be slow until they're not. The rabbit represents a rapid uptick of money, opportunity, timelines. Things will start to take off. There is this period, though, first when it's a little bit gentle and you're waiting and you're thinking, when is it going to start to get moving? Probably by the end of the month here. Like I said, there could be a gestation or waiting period up to 4 weeks, maybe up to a quarter of the year, 3 to 4 months. But when that change happens, when you are truly sort of ready to move forward, you're going to have to keep the pace. So enjoy any lulls in activity when they come through, and then get ready to hit the ground running when things start to pick up. All right, let's go ahead and move on to sun, rising, and moon sign messages and see what else Spirit has to say. Sun, rising, and moon. We're going to get started with sun sign messages. You got the Fool. So this is about hitting the ground running, like I said. Brand new, fresh, clean slate. This card has the number 0 at the top. It's the beginning of the major arcana, and it is about birthing, creating, or starting. And like I said back when the card wanted to fall out of my hands, it's time to let something go. It's time to move on, or move onward, upward, or in a new direction. Okay, all of these things. So some of you may be moving into a new home, starting a new job, starting a new relationship, starting a new chapter, or just feeling this freedom and liberation that is coming through in the Fool card. There's a lot to love. The question here is, what do you want to take that first step into this month? Set your intention and set course. Moving on to rising sign messages. We have 5 of Wands here. This is where there is maybe a little bit of friction going on. So this can represent, for many of you, a little bit of stagnation in work, a feeling maybe even in any activity or anything that you're putting time into, of just kind of like diminishing returns. Why am I doing this? What you want to do in the 5 of Wands is avoid unnecessary competition. There's a chance to get to the 6 of Wands by being the keystone, being the leader, rising above. And also just deciding if it's really worth your time and energy. It feels like something in your life, like enough is enough. You shouldn't have to put so much energy, like in a relationship or in an activity, without seeing some sort of progress. Because the 5 of Wands can be a stalemate. All of those people are pushing the wands against each other. No one's making any headway. So rise up, speak up, lead by example, possibly move in a new direction. We just talked about the Fool, all of that. The 6 of Wands is a movement card too, because it would have the horse on it. You got to get out of the thicket. You have to kind of get some clarity, take a step back and see what your next step is. Something right now is providing diminishing returns, so it's time to move on from that. Moon sign. Well, we have the Knight of Cups. That's both you, and it could also be someone new coming into your life. It represents love, an opportunity in a relationship or a really cool activity. And it's also saying if you want something, go for it. Knights don't sit around and wait. They get out there. They initiate a conversation like we saw with the 8 of Swords. So there could be new love coming in. We're getting a lot of water signs. It could be a fellow Pisces. It could also be a Scorpio or a Cancer. And I think that we sometimes put too much focus into the sign. If there is a connection, a legitimate connection, go for it. We're getting a lot of positive signals with respect to that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at your final card and see what Spirit has to say here. So the final card, this is your chance to ask me a question. Something that came up in the spread, something that you wanted me to elaborate more, something new. Whatever it is that you need clarity on, this is your way to see and to ask that. All right, so let's see what Spirit has to say on that. You received the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. Generally speaking, this is a positive card. It can represent, especially if we look at the traditional card, recognition. It's a card of mastery, meaning that if you set your mind to do something, you can master that craft or that skill. With the recognition here, normally it comes in real time, but when the card is reversed, it may be withheld or delayed. And sometimes it isn't as authentic as it should be. Someone, again, gives a backhanded compliment, meaning that it's sort of a compliment, but it's also a little bit salty. It's not exactly supportive of you. There also may be some finishing touches that you need to put on something. We see someone here still trying to figure out how they want to do something, how they want it to look. In writing, this is some final revisions, which also connects us to the Ace of Swords in reverse. Do it because you want to. Release it when you're happy. Know that it's not how quickly you get to the finish line, because we can see that in the long run, speed, momentum, and abundance come through. It's more about feeling like I did it right, and I'm happy with what I put out into the world, okay? If you want to go back to school, this is a yes. Generally speaking, with a yes, no, it's yes, but do it not for the validation or recognition, but because it is creating that sense of knowledge or fulfillment or happiness. So that, my friends, brings this reading to a close. If you enjoyed this, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. It helps more than you would imagine. It helps me know that this made a difference. It helps other people discover this. In addition, you can give me a follow on social media. Remember, it's always my full name, Nicholas Ashbaugh. There's no extra numbers, characters, etc. So be mindful of that. You can always go to the main YouTube page and all the links are listed there, or go to my website and you can see them there. There are currently 2 imposters on TikTok. I've reported both, but just know it usually takes up to a month for some of these imposter ones to go away. A way to realize who the real Nicholas is and who the other ones are: I don't offer readings. I don't have these second accounts. I'm not going to DM you or direct message you. You can just block and report that when it happens. You can also go to my website and let me know when you see an imposter. There's a special form for that. If you want to show support, you can do it right here on YouTube through a super sticker, a super chat, super like, or again, just commenting below. Memberships are another way to give back in a way that helps support the channel month to month. So thank you in advance. I use all of that to create new content like the podcast. I also put out new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I do daily reads as well. And of course, I'm here every single Sunday for a live stream. So thanks to everybody who helps out with all of that. And that's it. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to channel all of this and deliver it. And most importantly, thanks for being the best part of what I do on YouTube. I wouldn't be here without your love and support, and I appreciate you. Have a good one.